Frank Talk with Tokyo Sexwale continues. That Sexwale, the ANC is very factional, right? And I remember, 20 years ago, if you had said the ANC is not united, not even same factions, you'd have all of you coming out to say, no, we're very united and so on. These days, there's not even a pretense, right? You've got various ANC leaders coming out to say different things almost on every important issue. Look at the issue of the Reserve Bank, for example. Even at this point, we've had a situation where the Secretary General says something, the President said something else. On the issue of the land, for 2 years before the conference, the ANC voted against this very resolution of progressing the land. It voted consciously in Parliament against it, right? Etc. Three, you look at the issue then of, what you call, I want to call it hangover. I don't know, how else, babalas, hangover of Nasrec, post-Nasrec hangover. When people were going to a conference, like it happens in any democracy, right? There will be contestation. But once the leaders are elected, you expect that then they would rally against. Now you have a situation where a secretary must talk frankly, not in parables. Secretary stands after this election, say, don't worry, it's only 5 years. They'll be out. And then before you know it, he's having meetings with the former head of state in some hotel in KZN. And it's a terrible mess. And then you got people who have been scorned upon by the courts, by the moral, ethical committee, integrity committee, etc., being reinvented into parliament. And so I'm just painting, I can't even paint the whole picture and how bad it's looking when somebody's looking from outside in. Guide us, right? How do we see the movement and its state right now to be able to do all these things we're talking about that are required to do? The economy, joblessness, poor economic growth, etc. Without a united force, what chance do we stand to actually have a movement sort this thing out? Or are we just talking historical things? In fact, maybe unbeknown to us, you as veterans and people who obviously have the love of the ANC in your heart are doing something to solve what looks chaotic for ordinary people who are outside.
JJ, these things that you are saying, which are hard-hitting, could be said about the ANC many years ago when we joined it, we turned against you. Many people would think you've lost your marbles. You are a spy.
Yeah.
You are a sellout, they'll ban you.
That hasn't come yet. I hope it doesn't come.
No, not at this stage.
Yeah.
Only the unwise, only fools, would deny the fact that the ANC, my organization, and we all don't have clean hands, is in bad space. You see, the challenge of today is development, the way with all of our people. Education, we can talk a lot about it. Healthcare, people are sick. The housing, but most importantly, jobs for people to get off grants and be able to continue their lives because they've got dignified, decent jobs. But they are beggars. Not in the streets, but from government offices. We are in bad space as a party because of these factions. We're factionalized. There's no wise person who will say it's not like that. We're all agreed. You're not talking about Nasrec. D.D. Mabuza, our deputy president.
Yes.
He made history by standing on the ticket of unity.
Yeah.
Unity. It's true. We needed that medicine. It won't last for long if it's false unity or fake unity.
Sure.
But it is incredible, unbelievable, that the word unity was the key word that was holding us together in this money-infested conference of Nasrec. When unity was the first word that brought people together of this country to form the South African Native National Congress which became the African National Congress. It was based on unity of our people, tribal, national, and so on. So unity is the key word. But for it to be invoked in 2016, and for it to become, we thought it's the greatest thing. It was so easy for somebody to say it's unity. And we all followed because we're craving. It was an acceptance that we've lost our way. We don't understand our compass anymore, morally, ethically, politically. That we've let our people down. And how did it happen? Money. Money. JJ, it's all about money. Once money got into our ranks, we're gone. Let me tell you how money came in. And I've said this in the past, speaking elsewhere. When we're in exile, equality. We suffer together. We are bitten by mosquitoes and snakes. Yeah. We hunger together. All of us are earning nothing or 320 kwachas. Yeah. We're just nobodies, and as a result, we're all somebodies. Oliver Tambo was earning, exactly the same amount that other communities are earning. There's what we call umpando. We're getting clothes from countries like Poland, like Sweden, like East Germany, Soviet Union, Cuba, and so on. So equal. Then we got back into the country. And then we won the elections.
And suddenly...
Now suddenly what?
The classing.
Suddenly, one comrade is able to employ others. Sure. And I was one of those comrades. I'm premier. See my pictures here, the premier's photographs. The premier employs other people. Yeah. They change. I now control the biggest budget in South Africa of any province after the national government. It's here in Gauteng. Now you control such a people change towards you. People remember your grandmother's birthday. They remember everything about you. Yeah. Because people are sucking up.
But you also can change because you are now changed. Suddenly you got power that you never had.
Yes, and then you realize, gee, I've got this power. Save that, we didn't do that. That's why we're running a clean government here. At that time, we didn't understand these things. Mandela becomes the boss here. So you employ other comrades. You see now what has changed. And the comrades' house, car, private schools, they don't even go to
public schools,
private hospital care, all those types, it depends on you. The fridge is full at home because you are a minister or an MEC, you are a MMC, those type of things. But dependent on the mayor or the premier or whoever up there. Yeah. DGs, ambassadors, the comrades are in charge of it because they pay you. The views disappear.
Sure.
Your slogan here is our news, our views. There are no views now. You are careful with your views. If Mandela speaks, you've got to be very careful. If Tabane Beki, now, comrades have got the power for reshuffle. Sure. I can bring you in, I can go out. There's no CCMA here. Sure. Okay? Now before we talk about private money, where private companies come and they buy a conference of the ANC. Yeah. You see, because private people became very clever. If the ANC splits or Terra can go, it dries up. This one goes, it dries up. PAC came out, it dries up. A number of people have broken up, the ANC dries up. So what is the best way? Buy. Buy the ANC. It was a shocker. Nasrec was a shocker. Where money was used to buy a conference.
But it was not the first. I mean, Kalema Motlanthe, as long ago as 2007, mentioned these things of money being used.
Look at the speech I made at Forte, okay, about our fathers. When I said this thing is going to destroy this organization, it's here, it's on the website. This thing is going to destroy this organization. And people at that time were playing games as though some of us were not involved in this money game. If we were really, then we would have marshaled a lot of money to really win at Polokwane and those type of things. It wasn't. We're defeated. I'm one of those people. Money doesn't count, doesn't work. But people had special money, a lot of money from government. And people marshaled money from outside. You buy a conference. It's all out there. The entrails, it's hanging outside. Now, money controls. You buy comrades, you put them here, you give them power that you can take away tomorrow. You can shuffle and reshuffle, do all sorts of things. That's the space in which we are, and there's no retreat. You can't change this. So we've got to stay in this thing for as long as possible. Perhaps something must change. If you have a president, declare everything that we have. And if people have got to serve in government, okay, it must not be people who are in the National Executive Committee of the ANC.
And then the ones who are out of government will feel belittled, will feel undermined, etc.
The National Executive must be free from being controlled by money. Because you see, if potential members of the cabinet are members of the leadership of the ANC, you control the NEC. Because I'm going to choose from amongst you. And so what views are you going to have? What views are you going to have from people who potentially are waiting to be ambassadors, to be premiers, to be
redeployed,
to be mayors, to be DGs, because the president is going to decide these things.
So if you have a big mouth,
when we are going to do that, we stamp the authority of money inside the ANC. Okay, so certain changes must happen. And of course, the Constitution, we had said that, this thing of electing a leader because, it must be one of us. Let the people choose their leaders in the streets.
The Communist Party talked about corporate capture, and I want you to help me to understand. You and Matthew Posa and Cyril Ramaphosa were like the poster boys, poster men, of black economic empowerment, right? At some point you decided, hey, this political thing is not working without money. Let's just leave them and just go to the private sector. We'll see them later. I want you to make me understand the logic of that, and whether in hindsight that has worked for us. Because now you've got a billionaire president, right? Yeah, who's supposed to govern people who are unemployed, 55% who are living in poverty. The gap between the governed and the governors. Was it not fueled, right, by what in those days we just called BEE? After the break, I would like you to just get into that and then link it to how we can extricate ourselves from the money problem that seems to be destroying the ANC. Our frank interview continues with Tokyo Sexwale. Around of this conversation, never enough time for Khabulo, but I hope that it's not the last time that you visit us to share of your wisdom.
I'm not coming back.
You're not coming back? Listen, look, I could get the date wrong, but in the 80s, or sorry, 2000s, mid-2000, yourself, Matthew Posa, Cyril Ramaphosa were accused of planning a coup d'etat against President Mbeki. And a lot of people began to say, how? It means these guys have been truly marginalized. These guys are no longer in the inner circle, right? Because if you're in the inner circle, you wouldn't be accused of trying to overtopple the guy with whom you are in the inner circle, right? Well, it's what, 15 years later. Has that changed? Are you still in the periphery? Or are you where you can advise, for lack of a better word, the inner circle, the heart of the movement right now? That's number one. Number two, answer the question I asked before the break. In hindsight, was it a deliberate strategy that worked to go out into the private sector and then come back to then get back into the politics?
Going to the private sector was an opportunity given, and we exercised it frankly. Freely, I did on my side. I cannot speak for the other people, and openly. When I left the Gauteng government, in fact, it was Thabo Mbeki who came to say farewell to me together with Musiwa Lekwata, was national chairperson of the ANC, to wish me well and to say, take the politics of our government and our movement into the private sector. And let's go and change this thing. Black economic empowerment has had its own positives as well as its own negatives. Another day we can talk about it. What lessons should be learned and so on. But when we went there, we're genuine. What you don't want to see are people becoming business people whilst they're running government. Ministers, DGs, those types of people, underground competing with business. Okay, if you want to be a business person or business man or woman, go out there frankly and openly and publicly engage in business. But don't run businesses using government funds with all this corruption that we're hearing and people having serious shareholding and assets underground and they're being exposed. Look at what Zondo is doing to us right now. Okay, you asked about the coup d'etat thing. That was the low point. One of the lowest low points in the ANC. For these leaders, I was one of them, to be accused of planning a coup d'etat. I don't even know if Cyril knew where a gun can point at that time. And yet the man was piled with us to say we are planning a coup d'etat. And
but is it true that it showed that you are out of the inner circle? You are out of favor?
Well, talking about circles, perhaps that's the problem of this country. where people have got, I'm closer to so-and-so, I'm in the inner circle, I'm one of the critical advisors, and you shut out other comrades. Where are the inner circle people of Thabo Mbeki today? Where's Zuma's inner circle? The people who used to die for him. He's sitting alone there and struggling with all these hundreds of charges. They're all gone. Except, some very loud voices, they'll always be there.
Yeah.
But the true people that we know who are around him, they're all gone. You see, this thing of being within a circle of so-and-so.
Yeah. Members member. You remember you used to call it members member?
Yes. That's the problem. Here is the president today. I'm not in his inner circle. I've never been in any. I'm not.
Does he take your call?
Once.
Okay, we can always call him now.
Once.
No, come on.
Since he became president once.
No.
Since he was deputy president in 2016, we've had one meeting.
Sure.
One. And that meeting was a very serious meeting, and I was trying to get through to him. So you can see I'm not part of any inner thing. But I had to give him a report, something that was very deadly, that he had to know, and I was trying to get through to him. I went from pillar to post. Eventually, the meeting was granted at his home. So I'm not one of the people who, they call and you can see people. You know what people do? They show you on the website, I can speak with the president. In a few minutes, gone. Come to this place and come. Yeah. You realize what a shame this is. But in any case...
But is that not a pity? Because there's a reservoir of what veterans like yourselves, the 101 or not, who in fact could become as a pillar of support for the current leaders.
You support the president as a member of the party where I am. State of the nation, good job. It's talking about all types of things, infrastructure, education, health, all those type of things. Great, raising all the funds, that type of thing. The downside, these funds that the president is raising, where are they going to go? Because if they're going to be utilized by the same people who are running corruption machineries down there, the president is bringing in petrol onto the fire that is already burning. But I'm sure people who are around the president will be able to give advices. Unfortunately, you can't force to be an advisor to the person, but you are also not a person's persons. What is good? Let's look at the movement, and I think that's where it is. The movement has got an objective to develop this country, to provide the people of this country with a good life based on the National Development Plan.
If you were to advise the movement, right, outside being a member, right, what would be the 2 or 3 things that you think, given all that's happening now, low economic growth or no economic growth at all, high poverty levels, high unemployment levels, international markets being unfriendly, etc., national debt being high. What would be your 2 or 3 critical advices as we round off the conversation? What would those be?
They can't be outside fighting corruption, because that is where the stumbling block is. They can't be outside of maintaining security. You see, there are a number of points in the National Development Plan of this country. And one of the key points is to stabilize this country and give people a chance to be safe. Crime is finishing our people every day. And we can be driving cars, blue lights, and your people don't have those type of things. Stabilize that thing. Give the police a chance to be able to fight this thing. The courts, Batohi, before you can even talk about infrastructure, money, those things will come. But if you can't control crime here, if you cannot stop corruption, which is part of crime, and fighting corruption is part of the National Development Plan. But also, if you don't have a proper public service that can serve people, you can have money raised, you can have infrastructure, you can have all policies about education, health, and so. They will not work as long as there's corruption. Corruption eats everything. It is a poison that will touch whatever you do, will be corrupted by this evil thing. Plus the crime.
In touch with other veterans, right? What is the feeling in general about something like the Integrity Commission, precisely to deal with the issue you're raising about corruption? Is there almost a bout of confidence that this could be something in the right direction? Remember, it was launched in 2012, right? And its track record is parlous, to say the least.
Sometimes the ANC, we have very good policies and very intentions and Integrity Commission and so on. We fail on implementation. The Integrity Commission has pointed out fingers at people, but what is the nation saying? Not me. Nobody goes to jail. Nobody gets arrested. You are saying we reinvent people, we do all sorts of things, That is what is happening. So the Integrity Commission of the ANC, I'm sure it has done, it has recommended, it has pointed at people, but nothing will happen. So, and then, of course, people got money again to go for lawyers and do all sorts of things. So it's going to be one delay after the other. So the ANC does have good plans, good policies and so on. But the seeds of corruption have embedded themselves inside this organization. We've got a problem. We're in a bad space. Until and unless we rectify that, there's no chance for the National Development Plan. You will bring money, you'll do all sorts of things, but it will be on the basis of increasing more on those people who are using corruption as an instrument and means of defeating the ends of the people. And
do you have access to the Secretary General? I mean, he's the engine. We've talked about government. Yes, maybe there, you could say the bureaucracy is such that if you want to have advice, then there are already people hired to do that. But that truly, this is where there should be a reservoir of being able. I mean, we saw the veterans fighting. I don't know whether you've even resolved which two organizations are one or whatever the case may be. But let's park that. Do you have access to the heart of the ANC, the secretary? I'm an ANC member, full steam, and I have access to no faction within the ANC. The last time I spoke with Comrade Ace Makhachudu was when he was still premier. And I was a minister in national government. I've not seen him for a very long time. I don't have this access. You see, I wish I could have more. But when you have a contribution to make, it's not true that you can only make it within the ANC and within government. You can serve society like we are doing here. Wonderful show here. We're exposing people to views. And for them to think, and for them to articulate, and for them to know what standpoint they should take in society. So I have access to many top leaders of the ANC, to the veterans, to people who have seen it before, and to many other people, but people in government. Are you worried about the movement? Access, when you are sitting alone, enjoying your life right now, and we'll come back next time to come and tell me what you are doing now, but today we don't have time. Are you worried? Are you truly worried about the movement? It's heartbreaking to see what is happening. You go to funerals and public functions, watch the cars outside of people who have stolen. This OD, this Mercedes, this DG has got a formidable place. This minister cannot afford this. Even drivers, even policemen. This policeman cannot come and buy Maseratis like this. You see, and he's a member of the ANC. It's just heartbreaking. And you look at the travel, the road of travel, you see the dead, the people who are maimed, the people who are injured, the people walking without legs, the poor people in the streets, the majority of the people. And yet you see this elite of people, us, doing this. And a lot of people are saying that's the time bomb, right? Of course. If you conclude, would you say maybe there's a need for a second revolution, if I may to put it just broadly, or that we've already had the revolution, we need to do something else to change the lives of our people, because we can't justify it. And I know that there's a lot of explanation about, colonialism took 300 years, now it can't take 25 years to change it, etc. Right? But I always say, when the pharaohs built those pyramids? Those pyramids, I don't know how long they took, but China took 6 days to build a hospital. I'm just saying that you can't use that argument, consistently. That please always give us more time. We need another 50 years, etc. So, as we conclude, right? Do we need a revolution in this country for things to happen, or are we just ambitious to think there can now be suddenly an insurrection? The law of revolution and revolution being very quick and rapid social transformation. Revolution doesn't end with one stroke. The French Revolution of 1789. By 1848, it still was proceeding. So revolution starts at a particular place, and then, of course, keeps on going. Changes are coming. So it's a process. There will be moments when there will be upheavals. Another wave. Yes, the waves are going to come. Revolution was not 1984 or 1994. It doesn't end up there. Social change, social transformation, or revolution, which is much more rapid, it goes on like that. So as long as there are blockages,
there'll be another wave that will come. So fees will fall. There'll be resistance, there'll be protests, and then of course, so we do need that. It's a very good and important medicine in society to have this type of thing. So when it happens, I wish it is well for the country. Change is required at all time. I hope the ANC will remain at the center of this thing by changing itself, by coming to terms with the fact that it's got to reform itself, failing which corruption will murder it. It will finish the ANC. So we've got to understand, if you want to be part of the wave going forward, you have to undergo.
That's a good point to leave it there. Thank you so much for sharing of your time and of your wisdom. We hope that I'll invite you in a year to come and see whether or not there are certain things that they have moved. But we appreciate your time once again. That is Tokyo Sexwale, the ANC veteran, sharing of his wisdom in today's Umkhabul. We're going to have more of these, but we're talking to people from different backgrounds. As you know, the liberation movement was not just the ANC. There were various many facets, the PAC. We hardly talk about them, Azapo, and so on. So we'll be bringing some of those leaders to come and share with us what in our culture is called oral tradition.